So hello and welcome back all students to another video tutorial from Genome Biotech, and as always I'm your host Dr. Nitin Mahi. So in our previous lecture we have been talking about what are the different tests to find out the nature of the amino acids. We have looked upon nature of the amino acids constituting the proteins. We have looked upon different types of tests. For example, we have looked in Pathfinder that there was a test which was referred to as Ninhydrin test, which was both a qualitative as well as a quantitative test for the determination of protein structure and its analysis, as well as for determining which amino acid constitute the structure of protein. Okay, so Ninhydrin test is used to detect amino acid, peptide, and protein. Ninhydrin was triketohydrin. It was reacting with the amino group, and this amino group, which was being released in the reaction of Ninhydrin, getting reduced to reduce Ninhydrin. This amino group was made to react in between Ninhydrin and reduce Ninhydrin, and it lead to the formation of a Romance purple, which was this particular complex, and this one was a blue color complex which was being produced. If you want to ask something, you can always write in the chat box. Okay, so there is a blue color complex or the purple color complex which was being produced and was referred to as the Romance purple. Now this is both a qualitative as well as a quantitative test of protein. But why we have ended our class here only in the previous lecture? Because we are not having the list of qualitative tests which I have already shared in your group. Now when you look at the list of different qualitative tests, I'm just sharing the same with you all. So here you can look, these are the different quantitative estimation of protein test. Which are the different quantitative estimation of protein test? Quantitative estimation of protein test can be remembered by a trick that is referred to as NNHX-MPS. Okay, so you can remember this with the help of this particular word, NNHX-MPS. Okay, so this is the trick that you can remember it out, through which you can remember this out, and that is NNHX-MPS: Ninhydrin, nitroprusside, Hopkins, xanthoprotein, Milans, poly, and Sakaguchi test. Okay, all these tests are precisely described in your Leringer as well as in your book, that is Strayer. But now what we have to do is we have to understand how these tests are being used, what is their significance. For example, N stands for Ninhydrin test. So this test involves the use of a reducing agent that is referred to as Ninhydrin reagent. Okay, this will oxidize and will reduce the this will oxidize the amino group or the amino acid, and will itself get reduced in the form of a Romance purple. Okay, proline is an exception because it will give a yellow colored substance with this particular reagent. Proline is an exception, it will give a yellow colored substance with this particular reactant. Okay, so proline is an exception. Okay, the another test is nitroprusside. Now nitroprusside test involves sodium nitroprusside and ammonium hydroxide. You have to remember like this: sodium nitroprusside and ammonium hydroxide. What is Hopkins test? Hopkins test is referred to as glyoxylic acid in 36N-H2SO4. So if there is glyoxylic acid, Hopkins HOP, remember this, Hopkins O, remember this O, remember this glyoxylic acid O. Okay, when you're talking about Hopkins, and this is glyoxylic acid, so you can correlate this O with this O and could remember it like this: Hopkins is used for the glyoxylic test, in which the glyoxylic acid in 36N-H2SO4 is used for the quantitative estimation of another amino acid that is referred to as tryptophan. So this is the tryptophan which is being quantitatively estimated using this test. Then there is xanthoprotein. Now xanthoprotein is also a qualitative as well as a quantitative estimation of protein test. This is the most common test that you would have performed in your laboratories. What happens in the case of xanthoprotein test? Just you take boiling concentrated HNO3, you take nitric acid, and after taking the nitric acid, what is being done? Nitric acid is poured over the protein surface. Once you pour nitric acid over the protein surface, then it will form a white color precipitate. Okay, or especially with tyrosine, it will form a yellow color precipitate. Okay, when it forms a yellow color precipitate with tyrosine, then This test is referred to as the xanthoprotein test. Okay. Then there is another test which is called as Millen's test. They go M for Millen, M for mercury. Okay. And mercury is being written as HgNO3 and HNO3. HgNO3 and HNO3. Okay. This is HgNO3. And M for mercury. M for mercury means this is mercuric nitrate in nitric acid. Then it gives a red color precipitate with tyrosine, diazotized sulfonilic acid in alkaline solution. You can remember it through this A. This is diazotized sulfonilic acid. You can remember this with this A, diazotized, and P could be remembered as D. See this? This is diazotized sulfonilic acid in alkaline solution. Last is Sakaguchi test. Sakaguchi test, alpha naphthol in sodium hypochlorite is referred to as Sakaguchi test. So this is the Sakaguchi test which is being done. So these are the different types of tests that could be performed. Now, how can you remember these different tests? You can remember these different tests by using a trick. Which is the trick? The trick is simple. First is ninhydrin NNHX-MPS. This one was the first trick. NNHX-MPS, ninhydrin nitroprusside, Hopkins, xanthoprotein, Millen, poly, and Sakaguchi. Even if you didn't remember these things, then also it's okay. It's absolutely fine. If you cannot remember these things, it's absolutely fine. You didn't have to even remember these things. अगर आपको याद नहीं होता है, no problem. If you can't remember this, just leave this. But you have to remember these two things. NNHX, MPS, ninhydrin nitroprusside, Hopkins, xanthoprotein, Millen, poly, and Sakaguchi, NNHX, MPS. And you can remember it via a trick. The trick states that Priyanka Chopra with Yo-Yo Himesh Reshamya. Priyanka Chopra means Priyanka means proline, Chopra means cysteine, with means tryptophan, Yo-Yo means tyrosine, Himesh means H, and Reshamya means R, that is arginine. You must have still up till now at least remembered the basic name, the basic common names of these amino acids, the triplet letter codon and the singlet letter codon for different amino acids. So you can remember it by a trick. Priyanka Chopra with Yo-Yo Himesh Reshamya, and you get the answer. Two questions have been asked in previous year examination from this particular chart. That is why it is of utmost importance. I have shared the same in your group, so you can copy that up. You can note it down in your notes or in your booklet. Okay, thank you. Now coming back to Pathfinder. Okay, now we are going to move back to Pathfinder. Okay, now we are back at Pathfinder. Now we would be talking about another bond that is being produced, and that is referred to as the peptide bond. Okay, now what is this peptide bond? Polypeptides are linear and unbranched polymers. I have already told you that what were polypeptide? Polypeptide were the linear, the unbranched polymers of alpha amino acids in nature. Okay, that were joined together with the help of peptide bonds. So now what are peptide bonds? Peptide bonds are basically the amide linkages formed by the unshared electron pair of the alpha amino nitrogen atom of one amino acid with the, see this, peptide bonds are amide linkages. See, peptide bonds are amide linkages formed when the unsaturated electron pair of the alpha amino nitrogen atom of one amino acid attacks the alpha carbonyl carbon atom of the other in a nucleophilic acyl substitution reaction. So basically, what are peptide bonds? Peptide bonds are being formed by the nucleophilic acyl substitution reactions that takes place in between the amino group of one amino acid and the carboxy group of another amino acid. देखिए, in simpler terms, you can understand that COOH group of one amino acid. See this? COOH group of one amino acid has reacted with an NH2 group of another amino acid in a nucleophilic acyl substitution reaction is referred to as peptide bond. In simple language, you can say when the carboxy group reacts with an amino group, leading to the liberation of a water molecule and the formation of a double bond, partial double bond character. This bond which is being formed between two amino acids is referred to as peptide bond. हिंदी में समझते हैं, जब दो अमीनो एसिड रिएक्ट कर जाते हैं such that in such a manner So that one amino acid carboxyl group, एक amino acid का carboxyl group दूसरे amino acid के amino group के साथ में react कर जाता है in a nucleophilic acyl substitution reaction, then this leads to the formation of a partial double bond character bond, which is referred to as peptide bond. Okay, now moving forward. Okay, the reaction is actually a dehydration reaction. This is also very important. See, majority of the reactions in the body to form different types of bonds are dehydration reactions. Do you remember the reaction of this glycosidic bond formation? The glycosidic bond formation reaction is also a dehydration reaction. There are several dehydration reactions that occurs in our body, and so this reaction is also a dehydration reaction in nature. Okay, to cut it down. No. Now, there are questions which have been asked from the peptide bond formation. First, what is the peptide bond formation reaction? Whether it is exogenous or it is endogenous. The peptide bond formation reaction is itself an endergonic process. That means energy is required in the formation of the peptide bond. It is an endergonic process. You always know that during the process of translation, there is energy required, and energy is required. So this process is referred to as an endergonic process. So the formation of peptide bond is an endergonic process, and with a delta G, and the delta G for the formation of this peptide bond is 21 kilojoule per mole. This question has also been asked. In MCQ, you will find that there is a question that is 21 kilojoule per mole is the Gibbs free energy for the formation of a peptide bond. तो देखो ये जो process है, you can look that this process is not a spontaneous process. It is an endergonic process. You have to give energy into the process so that the process can take place. So this is an endergonic process. Okay. Now this is delta G, and delta G equals to plus 21 kilojoule per mole. Okay. Now the peptide bond that is referred to as CN bond has a partial double bond character. When you look at the peptide bond, this is the peptide bond. This peptide bond has a partial double bond character present within itself. Due to the presence of a partial double bond character, the peptide bond length has been drastically reduced. Its bond length has been drastically reduced. And what is the new bond length of the peptide bond that we have to see? The peptide bond length is only 1.33 angstrom. Again, this question has been asked. There are so many theoretical questions which have been asked from these all sections in the case of biochemistry, especially in CSIR. So the peptide bond length is just 1.33 angstrom, and it is much more shorter than the usual bond length of 1.45 angstrom. Okay, so this bond length is quite shorter, whereas the peptide bond length, actually the peptide bond should have a length of 1.45, okay, angstrom. But due to the presence of this partial double bond character, you can see electrons would have moved from this oxygen to this carbon atom, and because of the translocation of this electron, the electronic cloud has moved to the formation of a double bond. Now there are electronic transitions which are taking place. Because of electronic transition, single bond is being converted into a double bond structure. Sorry. Single bond is being converted into a double bonded structure. You can find that there is the double bond, partial double bond character, which is being found in the case of peptide bonds. Now, how much partial double bond character is present? 40% partial double bond character is present in the case of peptide bond. There is 40% double bond character which is present in the case of peptide bond. Okay. Now, on the basis of the orientation of different groups, you can classify a peptide bond into two different types. Either it could be cis or it could be trans. There could be two different types of peptide bond. One, it could be cis, or second, it could be trans in nature. Now, what do you mean by cis and what do you mean by trans? Let us look forward. Just a second. Let us look forward. When you are looking at this particular structure, what is going to happen? There are C alpha and C alpha group, and these two C alpha group are on opposite side. Tell me which is the structure. It is referred to as trans. When you have two C alpha group on the same side, the structure is referred to as cis. Okay, when you have two C alpha at the same side, then the structure is referred to as cis, another one is referred to as trans. Now please try to understand which are these structures which are present. When you look towards these structures, what you find is that there are two orientations that are possible across the double bond. One is referred to as omega equal to 0 degree. There is the angle. What is omega? Omega refers to the double bond. The peptide bond is referred to as omega. There are specialized symbols which are being given. I'm writing all those symbols. Okay. Now this is C alpha. Now C alpha could also have a side group, and that side group will be referred to as the R side group. Okay, so C alpha could also have a side group, and that side group will be referred to as the R side group. Now this partial double bond is being given the symbol omega. Okay, C alpha and CO is being referred to as psi. C alpha and CO is referred to as psi, and this is psi. Okay, C alpha and CO is referred to as psi, and C alpha and NH is referred to as phi. I'm trying to draw this phi. Okay, let me draw this. Okay, so this C alpha and CO is referred to as psi. C alpha, this C and NH is referred to as omega. C alpha and NH is referred to as phi, and C alpha and R bond is being represented by zeta. This is zeta. This is zeta. Okay, these are the different conventional symbols which are being used to represent the structure of a peptide bond. C alpha and CO is referred to as psi. Now how can you remember this? You can remember this from a term that is referred to as psycho. PSICO. What do you mean by psycho? Psycho refers to the mad guys in our classes. Okay, so there are several mad guys that you would have met in your school or colleges. Just trying to draw this. Psycho. Okay, now who are those psycho guys? Psycho students are those students who used to put a pen while you are going to sit on the bench. Okay, and then you are shouting. Okay, let me make a psychic student. Okay, I'm not making your face, but I'm making a face of a psychic student. You know that my student knows that I'm also an artist. Now this student always used to point a pin whenever you are sitting at a particular place. So this student is referred to as psycho. Okay, psycho means the bond between C alpha and CO can be represented with the help of a symbol that is referred to as psi. PSI. Okay, this is referred to as the psi. Okay, the bond between C alpha and CO is referred to as psi. You would have heard about you would have seen those students who used to take the geometry box and take that prakal and used to punch to other students in the line. Okay, so this is how what is going on. Such type of students are psychic students. So that is why the name is psycho. What do you mean by psycho? What is the trick? The bond between psycho. Dekho, the bond between C alpha and CO is called as psi. The bond between C alpha and CO is called as psi. Omega is referred to as the peptide bond, so the other bond becomes phi, whereas the bond between C alpha and R is referred to as chi. This is referred to as chi. 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 Okay, this is referred to as chi. Any problem? Any problem with any student who cannot understand this out? You just try to focus upon this. This is a bit tough. इन हिंदी ऑल्सो आई एम गोइंग टू एक्सप्लेन. देखो बच्चों, तुम लोगों ने ऐसे पागल स्टूडेंट साइको स्टूडेंट को देखा होगा आपकी क्लास में, जो आपके आगे पीछे बैठते होंगे. आप जैसे ही बैठ रहे होंगे वो आपको प्रकाश चुबा देते होंगे, ठीक है, और आप खड़े हो जाते होंगे, टीचर आपको बाहर निकाल देती होगी. ऐसे स्टूडेंट होते हैं पागल स्टूडेंट, कॉल्ड एज साइको स्टूडेंट. तो साइको को आप कैसे याद कर सकते हो? सी अल्फा CO इज रेफर्ड टू एज साई. C alpha and CO is referred to as psi. So this is psi. The other angle is referred to as phi, while the CO and NH is referred to as omega, and C alpha and R is referred to as chi. Okay, this is referred to as chi. This chi was being introduced in 2014. A question was been asked in GATE entrance examination about chi. 2012, there were two questions which were being asked about this omega. Okay, So that I'm going to tell to you that omega can have two different orientation. One, it can have an orientation, sorry. One, it can have an orientation that is referred to as 180-degree, and another orientation that it could have is that at omega equal to 0, which is much more stable. The trans conformation is much more stable as compared to the cis conformation. This conformation is said to be much more stable as compared to this conformation. That is also clear from our diagram. Now you just take a picture of this particular diagram so that you can add it in your Pathfinder, because I will have to rub this out. Okay, please take a pic of this particular diagram, or you will get the recording. You can note it down from the recording also. No issues with that. I'm clearing all the drawing. Okay, now moving forward. So there are two different orientations of this omega. Omega equal to 0 is cis, omega equal to 180, because see, the two alpha groups are completely apart from each other. Then it is referred to as trans. Transformed is much more favored and is 1000 times much more stable as compared to the cis form. Now, which is much more stable? The transform is approximately 1000 times much more stable as compared to the cis form that we can find here. It is approximately 1000 times more stable than the cis form, because cis form, the alpha carbon atom and the side change are neighbor with regard to each other, and that is why they are less stable. Any student has any query, you just write it down in the chat box. I will answer all. If you have any query, you can write it down. अगर किसी का भी कोई query है तो लिख सकता है chat box में, मैं अभी answer करूंगा. ठीक है? Voice वगैरह clear है आप लोगों को? You are able to hear all voices and the screen today or not? Anyone can write in so that I could be known. I could get informed. Now rotation is permitted around C alpha and NH, C alpha and CO bond. Now rotation is permitted around C alpha and CO bond. That means psi. This is rotation is permeable around C alpha and CO and C alpha and NH bond. You can look here. C alpha and CO bond. There would be psi, C alpha and NH, that would be referred to as phi. So there are two different types of rotation which are allowed. See this? Psi, C alpha and CO, and C alpha and NH is referred to as the phi bond that is present. I'm not able to draw this. Probably this would be working. Probably you can visualize it up. I'm not able to say that. Okay. So this is how the bonds are there. Then rotation can be permitted around these two bonds. When you can rotate the protein molecule around these two bonds in these two different orientations, you can look, there is the arrow that is showing you the rotation. Then what is going to happen? Then in principle, actually what could happen, that the two molecules can have any different orientation, whether it could be psi or phi can have to have any value between minus 180 degree to plus 180 degree. Okay, but many of the values are being prohibited due to steric hindrance. Okay, sometimes there is steric hindrance and many of the values are inhibited due to the presence of steric hindrance within the polypeptide backbone. Okay, what is this steric hindrance? That we have to see. Now there is the concept of Ramachandran plot. Now let me explain it to you. What is Ramachandran plot and how this Ramachandran plot came into existence. C.N. Ramachandran was not a biologist, he was a mathematician. Okay, and once he was solving, he was a mathematician who was very good at numbers as well as in 3D geometry. His friend came to him, and during a coffee shop meeting, his friend who was a biologist told him that there are amino acids in biology, and these amino acids in biology linked together, leading to the formation of a structure that is referred to as protein. But not all the proteins are stable. There are only certain proteins, as indicated by these colored regions. There are only certain proteins which are stable, while there are other proteins which are unstable. But nobody is able to predict why some proteins are stable and why some proteins are unstable. Then Ramachandran told him, because he was an Indian, so Ramachandran told him it's very simple. Why some certain proteins are stable and some other are non-stable? We can just look at the degree of freedom. If there is ample degree of freedom around each and every bond, then there would be no steric hindrance and the protein becomes stable. Okay. And if there is no ample degree of freedom, there is a steric hindrance between the two molecules, the protein becomes unstable. That is why he made a graph looking at the value of psi and phi. He was able to predict the stability of different proteins in the biological world. And with this came into existence the first graph, the first protein prediction table, which was referred to as, later on referred to as, the Ramachandran plot, by the value of psi and phi. Okay, so what does Ramachandran told to his friend? What was the story behind the scene? The story behind the scene was that Ramachandran just told that for a protein to be stable, there should be less steric hindrance. Okay, and steric hindrance are being produced by these molecules R1, R2, and R3. Less steric hindrance, more stability. More steric hindrance, less stability. So if the protein has to be stable, then the adjacent amino acid should have R group, should have a smaller R group. If they have a very large R group, they have a very large side chain, they won't be stable. If there is small side chain, then they would be stable. हिंदी में समझ लो भैया, स्टेबिलिटी किसी बॉन्ड की भैया किस तरीके से जरूरी है, स्टेबिलिटी इस तरीके से जरूरी है, कोई साइड ग्रुप नहीं होना चाहिए. अगर साइड ग्रुप बहुत ज्यादा हैं तो बॉन्ड स्टेबल नहीं होगा, और जो बॉन्ड स्टेबल नहीं होगा वो बॉन्ड टूट ही जाते हैं एक दिन. ठीक है, तो देखिए रामचंद्रन ने व्हाट रामचंद्रन सेड दैट one which is stable should have a high degree of freedom and should have low steric hindrance to make the bond stable. If the adjacent amino acid have low side chain, have a small side chain, and these amino acids do not have any steric hindrance, they are said to be stable and the protein will be stable. So Ramachandran predicted that the most stable protein will be glycine, and glycine, and which came out to be the most stable protein. Okay, just I am putting a note here. In accordance to Ramachandran, in accordance to Ramachandran, stability of a protein is dependent upon, first, the steric hindrance in between amino acid constituting protein structure, as well as steric hindrance in between amino acid side groups containing protein structure. And the next one is about degree of rotation possible around each psi and